Alright guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing a new project for me, and this is a subwoofer build for a home theater. This is a flat pack from Parts Express, and inside it I'm going to be putting an Ultimax 18-inch. Totally straight. From the start, my plan was to cover it with a veneer, and this is a maple veneer, and then my plan is actually to cover it with a polyurethane candy. Gluing the veneer was pretty straightforward. I used this contact cement basically, and this is probably the biggest mistake I made on this build is my selection of, I don't know if it was the glue or the polyurethane, but I did get a reaction. So this veneer went on really easily and it looked great until a few days later when I covered it with the polyurethane. So gluing it, originally I rolled it all out, I had it super flat, it was essentially perfect, and that lasted only for a few days until it started to peel a bit. So I don't know if it was the glue that I used or if it was a reaction, but that was the one thing on this build that I would do differently. And this is maybe where I went wrong. So what I have here is I have catalyzed polyurethane clear coat. And I'm just brushing it on, and the goal of this is just to fill the pores in the wood. And this way, I've done this in the past and it's worked well. The whole reason is so that when I apply the candy coat next, basically it starts with a more uniform surface and it uses slightly less candy coat, I think. So I wanted to seal the wood, and this is where I wonder if the urethane paint interacted with that contact cement underneath. Because initially it looked good, and then after a while I had a few bubbles that I had to go back and fix. And they're able to be fixed, but starting with that I had perfectly smooth veneer. So in retrospect, maybe using the epoxy would have been a better choice to fill those pores. And if I was to do this again, and I likely will at some point, I'm going to try an epoxy next time instead of the clear coat. This is something new I'm trying. So this is a small portable paint booth. This is a small one. They say it's good for a motorcycle, and it probably is about the size that you'd want for a motorcycle. It's definitely too small for a car, and I knew that. But the reason I got this size is I wanted something that I could put inside the garage, and it would just help to mitigate overspray and dust and try to maintain some cleanliness while I was painting. So my plan all along has been to use this root beer candy. This is House of Color. This can is probably 15 or 20 years old, and I've used it in the past for painting wood with really nice result, and this has just been sitting in storage basically. So this was actually what I wanted to use. So overall it went on pretty well, although the problem is I ran out of the candy paint. I didn't have enough in my leftover supply, and I wanted a darker color than this. So although it looks pretty nice, I was hoping for darker, and it means I needed to go buy more candy root beer. So 15 years ago you'd buy it as a premix, but this is what they sell now. The KK07 is the intensifier, which is the root beer, and then you get the candy or the carrier base, and this is what I used. And but apparently this is how all candies are done now. What surprised me when I opened up this carrier base is that it is opaque, and I was not expecting that. But I looked it up and it is correct, and obviously when I used it, it worked as intended. And I think the recommended way to do this is to mix it with your batch. I just pre-mixed a bunch just to see how it would work, and it worked fine. I ended up using that for the rest of the project. these are my supplies for polishing. I'm using a Flex dual action polisher. I think that's a really great tool. I have different pads with different firmnesses, and then I use the 3M polish. Now this polish, I use it as a 3-step. That polish itself is probably 15 years old as well, and I've had good results with 3M. I'm sure there's other stuff out there that's just as good, but I find it works well. The strategy for this is a rubbing compound, and then a finishing compound, and then a machining glaze. So I'm happy with how this turned out. It's very slick and very smooth. For the front and back, what I'm planning to use is this exo hide. This is what came with the Parts Express kit, and it's basically a very thick coating. So rolling it on, it goes on really thick, and there is some intended texture to it all. But there was some bubbles, and it kind of reminded me of epoxy. And then I wondered if it's possible to get rid of those bubbles using a propane torch. So I tried it, and yes indeed, it does help get rid of the bubbles. The Ports Express kit came with this insulation, which apparently is denim, so recycled denim. And then I'm using the 3M 77 glue to attach it. So this is the start of the setup. So I have a calibrated microphone, that's a U mic, and a mini DSP, that's the 2x4. And you know, this getting into the mini DSP and the tuning with that, that's a whole other thing, and I'm very early into the learning curve of that. But currently I've got it set up and functioning, but there is still lots of room for tuning. The amplifier is a Crown XLS 1502, so at 4 ohms bridged, it will be 1550 watts. This is where I have the speaker set up for now. It sounds pretty good there. I will try some different positioning, and the Room EQ Wizard will help with that. So that's it. I'm really happy with how this project turned out. I think the speaker looks great and it's functioning well. I got some tuning to do still, but right now it still sounds great, and when I turn it up, it can really shake the house. I would like to make some more speakers in the future. I probably will make something for the shop, but that's it for today. See ya.